Hey everyone, if you're new to the channel, my name is Mike and I'm on a 48 state road trip around the United States in my van. I'm currently on my 6th state, which is California. I'm here in beautiful San Diego at Ocean Beach right now. A few of you guys have requested a tour of my van so that you could see how I'm living. So I figured in today's video I would finally show you guys what it looks like. So welcome to my crib. Before we get started on the van tour, I feel the need to mention that this is not like a high-end quality build. This is not impressive. It's not like those fancy Sprinter vans that you see on YouTube. You guys are not going to have your minds blown by this. It's just 2x4s and plywood, 1x2s. It's a lot of unfinished wood and stuff like that. And it's also still a work in progress. The van is not done yet, so bear with me and try not to judge too hard. So the van itself is a 1996 Dodge B2500 van. It has a 318 engine in it, and when I got it, it had 138,000 miles on it, which wasn't really that bad at all. I know it was used for camping previously, and there was actually an air conditioner installed in the back window when I got it. So even though there's only 138,000 miles, I'd have to figure it's probably spent a lot of time idling just to keep that AC on when the people were camping. But the motor itself is fine. The transmission runs great and was actually replaced at one point, like halfway through its life cycle, I think like 10 years ago. $2,300 I paid for it. For a van that has a running motor and a good transmission, I can't really complain about that at all. And when I bought it with the intention of having this road trip, and I figured if I got 2 or maybe even 3 years out of this van before it just completely dies, I am totally fine with that, and I can fully accept that. That would make me very happy. So with that in mind, let's take a look around the van. I guess we'll start off with what I did for the flooring. When I got the van, it had this nasty, just waterlogged fake hardwood floors in it. It was like that vinyl flooring that you just kind of piece together, and underneath it was also some waterlogged, disgusting insulation. And I wanted to rip all that out right away just because I figured it probably had some mold in it and it just was nasty and didn't look good. So I ripped all that out, and underneath it I was able to see the bare floor of the van, and it did have some rust on it. It wasn't horrible or anything, but it was enough that there's really no going back from it. So I did my best to basically just sand all that down. I used a wire wheel inside my drill, and I just kind of cleaned up that rust as best as I could. And once I was done grinding that all down, I used some Rust-Oleum primer on it to cover it up, and then I also used a coat of Rust-Oleum paint on top of the primer. And this is what it looked like after I was finished. It's obviously not perfect. I kind of got a little bit lazy with the wire wheel just because I knew I wasn't getting rid of all the rust. Since I'm looking to get 2 to 3 years out of this van, I think I'll be totally fine with the way this is right now. I don't really see the floor just completely rusting out and me falling through it or anything like that in the next 2 years, so I think this is perfectly adequate. Once I was done coating the floor with Rust-Oleum, I used some 1x2s to make a frame around the floor of the van just so that I could have a surface that was perfectly level to put this plywood on top of. As you can see on the van floor, there are kind of some bumps and ridges and stuff like that that make it not perfectly level. So it would have been a little bit difficult just to throw plywood on top of that. And aside from that, I also just wanted to add some insulation. So the 1x2 frame gave me some space to put a layer of insulation in. I used 1/2-inch insulation. I used self-drilling metal screws to attach the 1x2 frame to the metal floor of the van. And then I just laid some 23/32 plywood on top of the 1x2 frame. I have not put any carpet on top of it or anything like that, although I probably want to at some point. But right now, the inside of the van is just unfinished plywood on the floor. To cover the windows, as you can see behind me, I basically just took a strip of 1x2. I stapled some blackout curtains that I got from Walmart onto that 1x2, and then I just drilled some screws right into the frame of the van so the 1x2 is on top of the window and the curtain hangs in front of it. If I want to pull those curtains up, basically I just roll them up, and then I just use these little plastic clamps that I got from Home Depot. I got a pack of these for like probably 15 or 20 bucks for a bunch of them, and I'll use these to just hold the curtains in place while I want them rolled up, and then when I want to pull them back down, I just take the clamps off and put them back in the box. It's not the prettiest, but it gets the job done. It works for me, so I don't really care how it looks. For the sink and the stove, I just built this table out of 2x4s and plywood. I'm sure you're probably noticing a pattern by now. I got this cheap faucet off of Amazon, and then I just bought a little disposable sink from Home Depot, this little plastic thing right here. All I really did was just cut out a relatively accurate sized hole in this plywood using a jigsaw, and then I just placed the sink in there. I drilled in a 1x2 behind it just to kind of hold it into place in case it wanted to fall through. Yeah, I know it doesn't look that pretty, but whatever, it works for me. And underneath it, I just have some shelving and stuff. So the sink itself operates using this little foot pump right here. I just step on it while it's on the floor, and it takes water from the jug on the right hand side, pumps it into the sink, and then the sink drains into this black thing up here, and then down into the other blue jug on the left. So every once in a while, all I really need to do is empty out the left hand side jug somewhere where it's appropriate to drain that water, and then refill the jug on the right side with some water from a hose somewhere. For the stove, I just used this little Coleman 2-burner propane stove that I got from Walmart for like maybe 20 or 40 bucks or something like that. Just takes those little small propane tanks, and it's enough to cook food for actually a decent while. I make my coffee on here every day using this little teapot. I'll heat up some water, and then I pour water over some coffee grounds into a funnel that goes into my thermos. For my electrical setup, I have this 100 amp hour 12 volt Battleborn battery, which charges off the alternator when I drive. I have this battery isolator, which is this thing right here in the middle, and that's what connects the two batteries, the car battery and this battery, in order to charge this battery when I'm driving. And then this little red switch on the left, I turn this on when I'm driving so that the batteries will be connected to each other and the house battery will charge while I drive. And then when I stop driving, I turn that switch off so that the batteries are no longer connected and that one does not drain from the other if the voltages are different. I also have this 2000 watt Renogy pure sine wave power inverter that's connected to my house battery so that I can power 120 volt appliances, whether that's a fan, a drill, some kind of light. I plug my buzzer into there so I can shave my head and clean up my face and all that stuff. And I also have this little DeWalt battery charger here that charges tool batteries. So I charge my tool batteries off of that, and then I use those to power lights and drills and all kinds of other stuff that you can power with a 20 volt battery. As far as my fridge goes, this is definitely a problem that I need to solve, because right now I just have this cheap Igloo cooler, which is just really horrible. I mean, I'll put like $6 worth of ice in here and it's melted like 12 hours later, even if I don't really open the cooler much. I really want to get a Dometic fridge, but it's like, you know, $1,000, and that's just not something I can really swing right now. I mean, I could if I really wanted to, but I just can't really justify taking that money out of savings to pay for a fridge. So that's going to have to hold off for now. Maybe in the meantime, I might get a better cooler, something like a Yeti or something like that, just so the ice at least lasts longer when I put it in there, because this is horrible. And honestly, I end up wasting so much money, not only on ice, but on the food itself, because I'll buy food and then put it in the ice there in the cooler. And once the ice melts, the food just goes bad pretty quickly. So not only am I losing money on ice, but I'm also losing money on food, and it just turns out to be a nightmare. I hate cleaning it up, so it's just not a good solution for me. For my clothes, I keep them in these 2 Sterilite drawer systems. I bought 2 of those 3-drawer Sterilite things, and I stacked them on top of each other. If you pull the top panel off of one of these, you can actually stack them on top just like I did. They connect right into each other. And what I did was I put Velcro on the side of the drawer here to keep it from swinging open while I'm driving, because the drawers were opening while I was driving and stuff was going all over the place. So what I did was I just stuck some Velcro on here, and now when I want to open the drawers, I just pull off the Velcro, open it up, and when I close it, just close that Velcro back up. Then back here next to the drawers, I got some of my shoes, and I have this emergency bucket. So I normally go to the bathroom at Anytime Fitness, or, you know, wherever I end up being that day. Maybe I'm at someone's house or at a bar. But there's been a couple situations where you're in an emergency and gotta use the bucket. So that's what that's for. And then all the way in the back, I have my bed, which I made out of 2x4s and 1x2s, once again, as usual, just like everything else in the van. I just built this bed frame. I threw in a couple of support beams underneath it just to make it a little more sturdy and make sure it doesn't break when I'm sleeping on it. I got a 36 by 72 inch 4-inch RV mattress off of Amazon. I think I paid like $200 for it, and it's actually relatively comfortable, believe it or not. I usually just use my sleeping bag as a blanket if I need to. And then underneath the bed, I've got my storage. So there's that big container on the left there, the black one with the blue lid. That's where I keep my emergency car situation supplies. like a jack and jack stands and things like that. Anything where I might need to fix my car. And on the right side, I've just got a couple random odds and ends, like some oatmeal and peanut butter and things like that. And I also have a few other things under the bed, like a tackle box and a fishing pole and stuff like that. So that's pretty much what's going on there. For storage, the van itself was actually a conversion van when I bought it. So there are these storage things up on the top, these little cabinets, I guess you could call them. There's 3 in the front there. I've got a couple on the side, couple on the other side, and 1 in the back. So I use these to store things like Tupperware and my grooming supplies and dishes and pots and pans and all that kind of stuff. So it does help a lot to have those cabinets up there. As far as a vent fan goes, I did buy a Max Air vent fan, a Max Air roof fan. I have not installed it yet. The Max Air fan will be installed soon, and I'll make a video of that when I do. And I think that covers mainly everything about the build so far. I know I didn't really show the outside of the van much, but there's not much to show. It's just not that exciting. It's old and beat up. It still does everything I need it to, so I'm very happy with it regardless, even though it's not the prettiest thing you've ever seen. As far as my trip goes, like I said, I'm here in my 6th state so far out of 48. I'm in San Diego, California. I am getting ready to head out of here in a few days and head back to Texas again. I have a family event that I need to attend, and after that I really have 0 plans whatsoever. I may head to the East Coast and see my family or something. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I will keep you guys posted. If you'd like to follow along with my 48 state adventure, make sure you subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.